Hey, it's Ayla, and this is the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We are looking at a quick recording today that I just did about a stressful event that happened to me this morning. I was just relieving my stress of that before I got back into some creative work that I was doing, that I wanted to do, and that I couldn't do because my body was just stuck. Was just stuck in stress. And so I did my quick stress relieving routine, and I figured, let's record it, and hopefully I can help some other women with it as well, because we all have stressful events now and then. And before you're trying to get back into your day and take that whole stress with you, it's better to just take a few minutes and let it go. So, without further ado, here you go. I hope it helps you.
Hi, I'm Ayla, and for over a decade I've been dedicated to helping entrepreneurs thrive. Welcome to the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. Here we focus on personal growth so your business can grow alongside you. Discover how to optimize your business, elevate your mindset, and truly feel and act like a CEO. This is more than just business, it's about transforming your entire entrepreneurial journey. Join me on this path to unlock your fullest potential.
Hello, my darling. Welcome back to the show. I am recording a quickie for you today. I'm going unscripted. I'm going rogue, which is not great for me usually because I tend to ramble a lot. But I feel like I've got something in my head that would make sense to you right now. It's based on this morning, actually, which is why I'm going rogue, because it just happened. And I figured this is something that a lot of female entrepreneurs, especially moms, can use in their day-to-day life. This morning, no, stop. Rewind a bit. Our youngest kid, Milou, she is 2.5 years old, and she's been at home for the last 4 weeks by now, approximately. In 4 weeks, she went to school 5 days. So that's not great. She had the flu, and then she had the stomach bug, and this morning she finally went back to school. And on her way to school, she got some kind of allergic reaction. So by the time they arrived at school, I was at home. My husband was bringing them. By the time they arrived at school, she was all red and rushy and itchy. And basically, the teacher said, "You can't drop her off like this." They were going to the cinema. They said, he was walking and he said, "I'm not going to take her back walking through the cold again. I'll be back with the car." And the teacher said, "You have to be quick because we're going to be leaving for the cinema in half an hour." So he came home, told me. I just got out of the shower, and I'm not a fast dresser, even though I don't know why. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I don't have fancy clothes. No complicated clothes. And I could be ready quite easily and quick, but somehow it always takes me very long. So I'm not a fast dresser. In this case, I had to be fast. So whoop, my system just upped. There is a threat to my kid. I need to be quick. And so I hit the pedal to the metal and I just went, and I made it in time, just in time for the teacher to tell me that she was fine, that she was okay to go to the cinema. Everything had turned back to normal. They didn't know what it was, but they said she'll be fine. So I went back home again without my kid, which is great for her. And I just stood back in the kitchen, rattled with stress. Immediately, I noticed what happened. I busted my hand in the door, for which I immediately blamed the dogs by yelling at them and out of proportion. I burned my hand on the kettle, and then I went to sit behind my desk, and I was planning to write this week's newsletter, and I had absolute blinking cursor syndrome. I was just sitting here going, blank, 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 blank. And so I realized, I don't need to do this. I need to step out of this stress mode first before anything can get done around here. Otherwise, it'll take my body forever to get out of this stress mode by itself. I really need to take some actions. And I figured I'll share those actions with you, because this is what I do when I have a stress reaction like this. I need to live through it first before I can continue. And I think that a big mistake a lot of female entrepreneurs make is that when we get a stress reaction, we just take it as it comes and we tend to push through and we want to continue on with our days without living it out first, without working through that stress, letting it go, and then continuing our day with a clear mind. So that's what I did, and that's what I'll share with you. I have several things that I do. I don't do them all at once all the time. I tend to mix it up depending on how much time I have, about what I want to do, like what feels good in the moment. So I'll just share a bunch and then you can, take what suits you best. So when you get a scare, you enter fight or flight mode, and your creative powers take a major hit. Because when your body senses danger, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in and it floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. It increases your heart rate and it sharpens your focus, but not on your work, but on immediate threats. It's preparing you to fight or flee or freeze. And this is amazing when you're facing a bear. It's terrible when you're doing creative work. So, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for creative thinking, for problem solving, big picture vision, it gets suppressed. Your brain reallocates that energy to more primal functions, like scanning for threats and preparing for quick action. Hence, why I immediately gave the dogs a lashing for me busting my hand in a door. I mean, yeah, they were there and I almost tripped over them, which is why I closed the door too soon with my hand in it. And technically, it was their fault. Normally, I wouldn't even have seen them and I would have just said, damn door, damn hand. In this case, I was actively scanning for threats being dogs that are in the way. So you're scanning for threats, you're preparing for quick action. And when you do this, you get stuck in very rigid thinking. Instead of like expansive and out of the box big vision, your fight or flight modus makes you hyper focused on survival, on what's here. You immediately get into patterns that are familiar to you rather than looking at new ideas, being open to new things. You're here. You think very black and white, good or bad, safe versus dangerous, etc. And your ability to play, to experiment and explore disappears because you're focused right now. And for a creative flow, you need safety. You need a relaxed and open state. This is often linked to alpha and theta brain waves, like when you're daydreaming or meditating. But in fight or flight, your brain shifts into high beta waves that are associated with stress, anxiety, overthinking, absolutely not with creativity. If you stay in chronic stress, your brain rewires itself for survival thinking, making it harder for you to access your creative flow even when you're safe. That's why stress management, nervous system regulation are very crucial for sustaining creativity. In this case, in my specific case, this morning, it wasn't really chronic stress. Some thing actually happened. What a great pause to search for a word and then come up with thing. But event, that's what I was going for. A stressful event actually happened. Still, if you don't work through tiny stressful events, eventually you'll string them all together and you get into a state of chronic stress. So, as I said, things I do are for my body, they are for my mind, they are reassuring my safety, and they are connecting me again with my inspiration, basically. I don't know what order I just held there, so I'm going off script. Remember. Okay. First of all, I usually need a vocal outlet, which is like body. My body needs an outlet. You can do this by dancing. You can do this literally by just shaking your body and just letting go of the stress. Think of a dog that's yawning, that's their way of releasing stress. You can do this by just bouncing around, shaking it off. Maybe it's because I like singing a lot. I don't know. I often feel like screaming and I need a vocal outlet. I don't want to scream. And so I belt out a song. I and on the way back from school this morning, I really loudly sang Amazing Grace in the car to like the kettle blowing off steam. That's like the first part that I did. Second thing I like to do is a bit of a body mind combination. It's reassuring the mind that I'm safe while using my body. I usually do either a breathwork combination for this or EFT, emotional freedom tapping, I think it is. If you don't know what that is, look it up on YouTube. It's very easy and it's so effective. So what I do for breath work is I usually inhale for 4, hold for 7, release for 8, inhale for 4, hold for 7, release for 8, etc., for I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes, not very long, but it worked wonders. I can immediately feel the stress just dripping down my body when I do this. The holding your breath is actually reassuring your body that you're safe as well. Because when you're literally on the run from a bear or a tiger, you're not going to be able to hold your breath and like calmly breathe and breathe out for 8 seconds. You're just going to go, I need to get away here. So holding your breath like that and then releasing slowly is a signal to your body that you are in a safe situation. Very primal, works amazing. The other thing, the EFT, is I reassure myself that I'm safe. For this, I use a combination of words, which is usually I am safe, and then followed by Ayla is safe. So I use my name's third person perspective to, I don't know, I know that there's a scientific reason for this. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, okay, this is what I was looking for. I'm just going to read it to you. A 2017 study by Ethan Krauss from the University of Michigan found that third person self talk during stress reduces cortisol and levels and stress response faster than first person self talk. This means that your nervous system calms down quicker, allowing you to return to a creative, rational state faster. It also states that it creates psychological distance, basically the same what we always do when we give our inner dialogue a name. I'm sure you heard by now. Mine is called Annalise, and she's a real nagging, conniving little. And she's very annoying. And by naming her Annalise, I can very easily just say, Annalise, you're dragging me down right now. You need to shut up. While if you're just talking to yourself, you're talking yourself down. So this also goes for when you're reassuring yourself. It's easier, it's better to say Ayla is safe instead of saying I am safe because it imagine that you're talking to a friend who you're trying to reassure. You're usually calmer and more rational than when you're trying to reassure yourself of something. So, yeah, EFT tapping combined with just repeating Ayla is safe, I am safe. In this case, Milou is safe, Milou is healthy, Milou is enjoying her time at the cinema. It's all stuff like that. One thing you need to be careful of is that your brain doesn't understand the word no or not. So if you're saying Milou's not sick, Ayla is not in danger, your brain might actually not get that properly and still keep you in that stressful state because it still thinks it doesn't hear the not. So it still hears Milou is sick. Ayla is unsafe. Be careful with that. So that's what I do as like a body mind combination. So there is the singing, the shaking or dancing, the tapping, and then what I usually do to get back into a more inspired state is just being out in nature. That's my thing. I don't know if it's everybody's thing. So find out what's it for you. For me, it's just standing beneath the trees and taking in birdsong, looking at the sunshine. It's very cold out right now and it's really beautiful. You know, one of those crisp, cold winter mornings, and I just stand there and take a few deep breaths and admire the beauty around me, watch the dogs play, and it'll just give me a bit of a more inspired state. And then usually I top it off with a little meditation visualization. I tend to not visualize things about the future because just coming out of a stress state is not gonna paint a pretty picture for me for like a big vision, future related stuff. So I usually focus on my body and I just imagine like you sit up straight, you put your both feet on the floor. I hardly ever sit with my both feet on the floor. So you ground yourself. I always visualize myself connecting to the earth. Like if I were to grow roots out of my feet, and then also with my higher self, light from above. And then I can imagine this bright light in my heart area, which expands with each inhale I take. And then with each exhale, I release the shadows. Sounds very beautiful, maybe, when you say it like this, but it helps. Like I inhale light, I exhale shadow, and I keep expanding that light in my body until it covers every area of my body, and I just have let go of the shadows. That's the best way I can describe it. So that would be a quick meditation to finish the whole shebang off. If I get really stressed out about something and it's something I cannot fix in the moment, like this stressful situation from this morning, it was solved immediately. If there's something like you get bad news or there's some like financial catastrophe going on, it's not something I can lose very quickly. I will honor my primitive instinct to run from the threat and I will go for a run or a bike ride or a rowing machine or a dancing routine on YouTube, anything that moves my body very vigorously to release that pent up adrenaline and just go, oh, otherwise you can breathe all you want, but if the situation is still there, if it's still lingering, then it tends to come back in. That's my experience, at least. So use my body. I use my mind. I reassure myself that I'm safe, and then I get back into a more inspired state. And then, you get to the point where you sit down and you go, "Oh, I could record a podcast about this." And that's my creative state being back in action. So, thank you so much for listening today. I hope this will help you the next time you have encountered a stressful situation. It only takes a few minutes to reverse that state and get back into a more creative state using the better parts of your brain instead of just taking it with you through the day. If you need any more help with balancing your life out, I created a vision driven balance toolkit specifically for mompreneurs who are trying to balance the whole shebang and maybe need some help with that. I've got a 4-step process in there. It'll take you maybe half an hour if you do the exercises in there, and it will give you an instantly better vision on what's going on in your life and how you can create a workable balance in it. So if you want to grab that, link is below. And I will see you in the next episode.
If you
Have a good
did,
day.
it would mean the world to me
Bye.
if you could leave a review. Because believe it or not, reviews on podcasts are actually still used to make sure more people get to see this podcast in their screens and maybe click on it and learn something as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.